Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Zach Celadonia.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and here joining me this morning for another Steelers post-game of one, Zach Flash Celadonia, back into your usual elements here with the post-game instead of the pre-game. What's going on, Flash?
Oh, yeah, people getting the pre-game and the post-game. Double whammy.
Double
I'm
whammy.
Psyched. Victory Monday, dude.
Victory Monday, man. You look really, really intelligent with the glasses. You got the glasses going. Are they just regular glasses, or like my kids into like the blue light glasses now for the devices and whatnot? You know,
They're blue light.
Are they blue light? That's
kids.
sharp.
I'm a child at heart, dude, and thank you for mentioning. I've got these. I call these my Harry Potters because they're circular, and I think I wore a pair a couple shows ago that are the more square, classic look, the nerdy look, and I don't need actual glasses yet, which is funny we're talking about this because we opened last show talking about how I may need driving glasses. That's a different beast in itself. But as far as day-to-day life, just like going about my morning routine and living life, I don't need them yet. But both of my parents needed them when they were in their mid to late 30s, I believe. So there's a good chance, you know, the odds say that I'm going to need glasses here at some point. So I'm trying to live every day to the fullest where I don't need glasses just yet. But these are blue light because they help my eyes not hurt after staring at a TV all weekend, watching football, and then staring at my phone right now.
I hear you, man. And I was saying like with my kid, but it brings up rewatching Step Brothers recently, like at the end when they're more like grown up and they're like, I'm taking baby aspirin now and like all that stuff. Hey, you got to take care of yourself, you know? So, and they're like 40 and 41 or 40 and 39 in that movie, supposedly. So that's hilarious. So I think I want to start off this show with a welcome back, Steelers Nation. Where have you been? I think most of you jumped ship, especially during the bye week, and now you're taking a look at things and you're like, hey, you know what? Is there still hope for the season? Well, if you were with us, our 2%ers that usually hang around for the entire show and were with us over the last couple of weeks, maybe you heard a little birdie in your ear. That would have been me telling you that the Steelers have some winnable games on their schedule. And it's kind of crazy because yesterday's game, 20-10 victory over the New Orleans Saints, it gets the Steelers to 3-6. Saints drop to 3-7. And the Steelers they aren't entirely out of this yet. They still got to stack some wins, but this is a good building block here. Though there's times during this game where I felt like, it didn't feel like they were a well-oiled, polished machine, but as the game wore on, they did what was necessary in order to get the dub.
Yeah, it was a very up and down game across the roster, position by position. And when we started the game, it looked like we were going to be in decent control for a while. But as the Steelers love to do, they make it hard on us. And it came down to not the final minutes, but it was a closer game than I had hoped for. But a win's a win, you know, and I'll take the win because the improvement was noticeable throughout the game from start to finish. I felt like Najee got better with carries. I felt like Jaylen Warren got better with carries. I felt like Kenny Pickett obviously had a better second half than first half. The defense as well seemed like the turnovers were coming in plenty in the second half, whether it be from Levi Wallace or Damontae Kazee, who we knew was going to get a pick on this show. So, yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good game. All things considered with the season we've had so far and how hard it's been for the Steelers to look anywhere near competent on offense and defense without TJ Watt, I thought it was about as good of a game as you could hope to see.
Yeah. At times it felt rough, but I did notice some differences and some thoughts that came to my mind because there's still a lot of the anti-Kenny Pickett crowd that's out there that I would just like to smack these guys in the head, to be completely honest. I don't know. There's people that are still like on board with, well, Ben did this and Ben did that and Ben, and it's like Ben had Jerome Bettis and then Willie Parker, and he had like a Hall of Fame offensive lineman in Alan Faneca for a short spell at the beginning, and then of course he had several throughout the latter part of his career. But the first like 3 years of Ben Roethlisberger was pretty interesting. I brought this up just to kind of self promote this, and this kind of goes with the rest of the game here. We were just making a joke offline about, well, Kenny. Somebody out there is gonna be like, well, Kenny had like the highest percentage of interceptions that should have been interceptions or something like that, which isn't true at all. We're just we're completely making that up on the fly. But we're just joking because like I'm listening to like the post game show, again, Stan Savran, Charlie Batch, and Stan's like, he's got to throw in the reminder that the New Orleans Saints aren't a good football team. And it's like, well, at least the Steelers aren't a worse football team. Come on, Stan. Yeah. It's like, give credit when credit's due sometimes. When you got a team like the Eagles that just throttles you, and you could say, well, that's a really good football team, and they are a good football team, the Eagles are. And at the same time, it's like we knew going in as the Saints missed a couple of them in the pregame and then a show, and then I caught them on the cheat sheet and still didn't catch all of them, but they had like their secondary was out. Marcus Davenport ended up being out. 2 or 3 other guys on the line we were talking about being out. And I was like, this should be a game where the Steelers feast. And hopefully it's like one of those things we've been saying all along. Can't have Kenny Pickett throwing like 50 balls. Now, in this game, he throws 30. This will have been his 4th game so far this year. You think about it, he didn't start the year. Mitch Trubisky did. And Kenny Pickett has thrown at least 30 or more passes in 4 games. And just to put that into context with Big Ben, and people are saying, well, Big Ben won, and you saw this with Big Ben. Well, Ben didn't throw a whole lot of passes. Just in the 30-plus category, not 30 on the dot, he only had 1 with more than 30 passes, 1 game in his first 2 seasons. That was a loss with the Bengals, and he threw 3 picks. And then in year 3, as I've noted in here below with some stats from Pro Football Reference, he went 1-7 with 30 or more attempts. And of course, I noted that Kenny had 30-plus passes in 3 of his games. If you go on 30 exact, Ben actually ends up with an extra game that was a win. But only 2 out of his first 2 seasons, 2 games where he was relied upon to throw that many times. You've got Kenny already doubling that up. That could kind of be a problem. You can't rely on a rookie quarterback to just do that heavy lifting all on his own. And you know what? They didn't. This is one where they actually ran the ball, and they ran the crap out of the ball. And you also see what a big difference that the defense makes when it comes to field position. Getting some splash plays with a team that was the worst in turnover differential in the entire league heading into this. The Saints were -10. I was looking at this and I'm just like, we're heading into the 3rd quarter, right? And as the game goes on, I'm like, man, Andy Dalton is Andy Dalton. The Saints are well overdue to just cough up the football at some point here. And cough up the football they ended up doing, which much to the benefit of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this was a good one. And just jumping back to just time of possession and overall the way the Steelers dominated this football game, it didn't look like the dominance that you would have thought on the outward appearance, only 20-10, but there were points left on the field. Mike Tomlin mentioned this in his post-game presser, but 43 carries among everyone for 217 yards. Najee was 1 yard shy. He had 99. He was 1 shy of 100 yards in the game. Jaylen Warren also had a 4.1 average. Najee a 5.0. George Pickens on a couple of George Pickens and Steve Sims both kind of carrying that load where Chase Claypool's no longer on the team and getting the little end rounds, the jet sweeps and whatnot. The Steelers overall, just to throw this in here, 38 minutes and 56 seconds time of possession, almost 39 minutes to 21:04 for the Saints. Well over a quarter of football that they maintained the ball. Just absolutely crazy. 28 first downs, 9-17 on 3rd, 1-1 on 4th down. It could be better in the red zone, 2 of 5 in the red zone and 2 of 3 goal to go. 379 net yards and 79 offensive plays. Absolutely great all-around team effort by the Steelers. The only thing, we'll have to talk about the kicking game sometime down the road here, but they did leave some points. They left some points on the field. Najee maybe could have had one. Pat Freiermuth maybe could have had one. So there's still a little bit of things that touchdown, that is. A little bit of things that they need to work on here. And, not everything's going to be a catchable ball all the time. I saw maybe that Kenny was a little more timid than usual. He wasn't going as much short as he was throwing balls that maybe only his receivers could catch. So it looks like, again, he's going through a learning process and a learning curve too, just so he makes sure the interceptions aren't on his side.
Yeah, that red zone offense continues to be their Achilles heel for the Steelers. I definitely thought that Kenny was a little more timid, a lot more timid in the first half of this game. It seems like stuff that we were one of our biggest fears was coming to life in the first half yesterday versus the Saints. And that was, to me, that I think Kenny Pickett's confidence is being affected in a negative way because of how just inconsistent our offense has been and how bad the Steelers have been in general. He seemed a lot more willing to take shots and look down the field and have the gunslinger mentality that made him famous at Pitt in the pros earlier in the season when he was getting his first couple opportunities. And over time, it's almost like he's been, jaded through the trials and tribulations of this current Steelers team. But the second half was a lot better. I felt like people were really premature, kind of selling Kenny up the river after the first half, be
Oh,
like, "Oh,
yeah.
I hear Kenny stinking it up again." Like, I'm telling you, it almost makes it not fun anymore. Talking about the Kenny Pickett situation with the Steelers because I don't know what we're arguing or who we're arguing with anymore at this point. Number one, the Steelers, they're not going to go quarterback early in next year's draft. I don't care if they have the first overall pick. So there's some people who just won't get that through their heads. Like that they won't accept it. That they're going to continue to harp on the mistakes Kenny makes because shocker, he's a rookie, and they're going to keep bringing up how the Steelers could, go after one of these quarterbacks next year early in the draft. And it's stupid because they're not going to do that. But these people won't let it go. Then there's another demographic that still feels, for whatever reason, that they personally have been wronged, it seems like, by the benching of Mitch Trubisky. I don't know what personal ties they have with this guy or what personal reputations they had on the line that meant Mitch Trubisky had to be the starter all year. But it's like with every goddamn mistake this kid makes, Kenny Pickett, I mean, there's somebody bitching about, oh, they should get a quarterback next year. Oh, maybe they shouldn't have taken Mitch out. No, man, this is what they should have done the whole time. There's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad. He's a rookie quarterback. I feel like if you have half of a brain watching NFL football, you knew this was going to happen. Nobody thought that Kenny was going to come in and just set the world on fire and be flawless. Yesterday, in fact, in a microcosm, it is exactly how a rookie season should go for a quarterback as long as he is getting better. And that is, first half was weak, it was bad. Second half was good. He ripped off a 50-yard run or however long it was. That was crucial to the win. He didn't turn the ball over at all. I don't know if that's the first time this year, but no turnovers. That's an improvement. 18 of 30, 199 yards, just say 200 yards. And I thought it was a good performance for Kenny Pickett, especially in the second half. But there are there's these agendas and these narratives that people just won't let go. And until we're a year from now and Kenny has made improvements or not, they're never going to stop. It probably won't stop for years after that too. It's just frustrating, man. It is because I want to enjoy the game
I
and
know.
enjoy the moment. Like we won 20-10 and Kenny made big plays at big times. And still there's people with their nose in the air, whether it be on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, on TV, with this like, I told you so mentality. I'm like, you told me what, dude? Like we won by 10 points and Kenny got better throughout the game. So I don't know. I don't want to waste too much emotion on it really because I feel like we're beating a dead horse. And for
Continue
perspective,
to.
Justin
Yeah.
Fields over on the Bears, he's lighting it up. I love Justin Fields. I'm a big Justin Fields supporter. I'm glad to see that he's finally doing well. But just for perspective, yesterday he was 11 of 17 for 160 yards. You know, like he didn't set the world on fire with an aerial onslaught. Like, yeah, he ran for 150, which was way more than Kenny ran for, almost by 100 yards. But that is what, like, people are nitpicking and tearing apart everything Kenny does. He's a rookie. Like it's gonna get better, man. And yesterday wasn't as bad as I think some people want you to think.
Man, Fields was just brutalized all last season and even through the first quarter of this season. And to the much to my benefit, I was able to grab him on one of my fantasy teams heading into
I
this
tried.
week. Oh, and yeah. Well, I tried on both, obviously, and I racked up like 40 points in one of my Yahoo teams. And I was like, okay, suckers, because I needed a quarterback badly. I kind of bombed out really bad with Russell Wilson and Matt Stafford. Again, let's go back to that. It's like, what were the Steelers supposed to do this offseason? Trade for the big quarterback, sign Aaron Rodgers to a $50 million a year deal, or get Russell Wilson and give him a big deal, or do whatever the Browns did with Deshaun Watson. That's just insane. It's just crazy talk. I don't like it. But here's some of the statistics for you, Flash. So Kenny Pickett, first quarter, 7 of 13 for 55 yards. He was sacked once for 4 yards, 64.6 rating. Of course, no touchdown pass or interception thrown there. Second quarter, he was 4 of 6 for 36. He was sacked twice. So it felt like he had time, but it also felt like his receivers weren't where they were supposed to be, or the reads weren't being made. And I'm like, oh man, this isn't good. This is like the worst that I've seen him so far, but not necessarily like it wasn't killing the team either. They had a 10-0 lead up until when the Zebras decided to give 30 yards worth of penalties, and Andy Dalton just looked to wherever 41 Robert Spillane was on the field and just threw whoever was running a route right in his face. So,
100%.
you know what? Speaking of which, let me pause on that real quick. There was one play, I want to say it was like Pat Freiermuth or George Pickens or something, and you got guys like kind of stacked in tiers. It's almost like you got like one guy low, one guy deep, and it makes it easier. You're rolling out to the right, and you've got two options, right? You could look near, you could look far. Deontay Johnson came across the formation on this drag route, just short. And it was just like this really great play. I believe it was like 3rd and something. I'd have to go back and look. And I was just, I got to give a little bit of credit. Everybody's really been dumping on Matt Canada, and I felt like the play calling, it's still never going to be perfect. But I felt like every situation yesterday was accounted for. I felt like there was enough. Now, they went back to that Wildcat play a second time, and it's like, okay, man, you went to the well too many times already. That's like a one-trick pony, one-time thing. And you look at some other games around the NFL. Did you get to see the Munich game in Germany by any chance, where Leonard Fournette took a Wildcat snap and went to throw it to Tom Brady?
I woke up and they were like 5 minutes into that game, man. That's too early for me. I watched it after I got up, but I turned on like my phone and saw that one of my fantasy teams was already going, and I was like, "Who's playing right now?" And I forgot that the Munich game was at 9:30, dude. So I got out of bed, didn't even like have the crusties off my eyes, and I'm in my living room standing there watching Tom Brady and the Seahawks in Germany. Again, not even like, I think I had my pajama bottoms on, but can't be 100% sure.
Yeah, you might have been in a Manscaped boxer brief, so just walking
Probably.
around. Yeah, just walking around, scratching your bare ass. Who knows? So, yeah, but he fell. Like, it was such. My point is like they were maybe barely in the red zone, and they tried this trick play. Like, what's 45-year-old Tom Brady going to do when he gets the ball? And do you want to expose him to being hit, et cetera, et cetera? And this is Byron Leftwich, is the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everyone's revered next head coach signing, major prodigy type guy, calling these type plays, and not Matt Canada. So I just had to point that out, that you got to look around the league sometimes. There's some complete, look at the Panthers now, high ankle sprain with PJ Walker. Now they got to go back to Baker Mayfield, and they're bringing Sam Darnold back off of IR. It's just, I don't know how to feel about some of those situations. I'm just glad. Look, Matt Ryan's back in. 39-yard run, the longest like of his career. Imagine giving that up on defense as well, with the Colts winning that game. I mean, it's just, it's insanity. It's insanity, but it's not just exclusive to the Steelers when some of these bad things end up happening. So that's kind of my point with bringing a little bit of that sidebar up. But back to the Kenny Pickett factor here. As we're both, I'm trying not to like cough or sneeze or anything in the phone. It's change of weather sucks, bro. It's like 40-degree weather, and then there was no sun at all yesterday. Just what is going on? This is just
I don't
crap.
normally get sick either. I think you're right. I think it's the changing of the seasons and how severe and how fast it was, because normally I'm one of those guys. I'll walk around bragging as my coworkers call off because they get sick. I'm like, I never get sick. I've never called off because I was sick. If I ever get sick, it's for like a couple hours. I feel like then it just subsides. But yeah, I've been fighting this since early Saturday. It isn't, my throat doesn't hurt, but like it burns kind of sort of like that, like one of those feelings. And yeah, I just runny nose, a little bit of congestion.
Oh yeah, the sinuses,
Fighting
man.
through it. But that's the sacrifice I make. That's why I'm here, to inform the people and go over the good win.
Yeah, give the people what they want. Hmm. I had to get a small swig there too, so apologize for that little pause, but it was like neither one of us were ready to say something at that point. Kenny Pickett's first half numbers: 11 and 19, 91 yards, sacked 3 times for 18, 70.3 rating. 11 and 19 isn't shabby by any means, and I know they were sending some routes. They were sending some routes deep, and he just couldn't find them. He just couldn't connect with the ball there. But you go into the second half, 4 of 6, 68. He did get sacked once. 36-yard long completion. I believe that was the one to Deontay Johnson. 104.9 rating in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, he's down to
That's when everybody started shutting up too.
Yeah.
All these loud mouths. And listen, the kid's not above criticism. Like we have to criticize him too. I think Kenny's making plenty of mistakes. And I said it numerous times already, and I'll say it again. Yesterday's first half from him, I thought was bad. By all definitions, it was bad. Like, guys, his completion ratio isn't bad, but 70 rating, sacked multiple times, no big plays, missing guys. First throw, I believe he missed open going to George Pickens. They took a nice shot on the very first play of the game, and he missed George Pickens. So Kenny made mistakes, but he got better. And if you're gonna nitpick and point out every little thing he does wrong, like literally everything he does wrong, down to like, oh my God, Deontay Johnson was wide open on the other side of the field. Well, then you have to give the kid credit when he makes improvements. You got to be excited about the steps that he makes. And some people just won't. They just don't want to be happy.
Yeah, I want to compound that with what happened at the end of that second quarter too, because you had the DeMonte Casey with the shoulder to whatever that got flagged for a helmet hit that I didn't agree with whatsoever.
I thought it was clean. I mean, it's pretty bang, but I thought it was clean. So, like, it's tough to call on the field. If they were able to review it, which I don't want because the game's slow enough, I think they would have given it back to us.
Yeah, and it gave me some shades of someone else who used to wear 23. Not Joe Hayden, but Mike Mitchell.
Yeah, I just thought for a minute.
Yeah, it really did. It's like, whoa, did they bring this guy back from wherever? Mitchell used to get called for some of those, and sometimes it was like 50-50 as to whether or not it was legitimate or not with him. But he was a hard-hitting dude. But they give up a field goal, and then the Saints get the ball back with like less than 2 minutes. They didn't even use all of their timeouts to drive down the field. 1:34 run off the clock, 6 plays, 56 yards, end up with a touchdown. That was it says 15 on the penalty yards. They must have attributed the other part of that. I believe the other one was on the kicking team. Oh, it was the receiver interference with James Pierre.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was like, man, I don't know. This is really kind of tacky. The guy calls for a fair catch and then moves up and then misjudges the ball, and you're calling interference because it almost goes over his head. Man, to me.
I loved how Pierre just stood there, too, and stared at him stone-faced, like really trying to sell it. I don't know if you could see that at the stadium, but after he hit him in the leg and, like, the dude turned around and pointed at him, Pierre was just like, stone face, like didn't even like move. Like, no, I was here the whole time, dude.
Yeah, what's he supposed to? That's what I mean. It's not like he ran into him. It was more like the receiver made the kick returner made contact with him more than the other way around. That just kind of that irked me based on the way that the path of that rest of that series went. And this is the reason why you had some of these comments, because it ends up being 10-10 at half. And now everybody's off the Kenny Pickett train. I will protect the innocent or the guilty, whichever way you want to look at this. But some of these shared from the professor. Professor's still hanging around the back rooms. He's just been busy coaching the football over at Rhode Island. So that's why you haven't seen him around. But he'll be back at some point. He's still in contact. And this is almost like those nasty letters with Jimmy Fallon and The Tonight Show. You know what I mean? Or the nasty tweets and
angry tweets.
The angry tweets. Yeah. Mean tweets, angry runs. I don't know, man. I'm being patient. I'm biting my tongue. Kenny's not good yet at all. Lots of punctuation in this one too. I should be like, I don't know, man. Period. I'm being patient. Period. I'm biting my tongue. Period. Kenny is not good yet. Period. At all. Period. I'm like,
what
wow.
a hero.
Yeah.
What a hero.
I'm getting really.
The weight of the world on his shoulders sounds like.
Got the whole world in his hands. You got another one. I'm getting really frustrated with this QB play. Struggling to read the defense, inaccurate throws, rookie growing pains, man, ... He'll learn, but damn, it's frustrating to watch someone who was NFL ready not look to be ready. It doesn't help that he's got Matt Canada. And it's like, you do realize that being NFL ready NFL ready means like he doesn't have to ride the bench for a few years and be developed to be NFL ready. There
Yeah, it
still
means
could be,
he's coming from a pro style offense in college too.
yeah,
Like it's a pro style offense, meaning the offense he ran at the University of Pittsburgh is similar to what a lot of teams do in the pros.
yeah, that's part of it, and part of it is, have you seen Malik Willis by any chance yet? Um, struggling, and everybody struggles. That's why I brought up Ben's numbers, not to bring Ben down, but it's just to show you. And Josh Allen yesterday, and Josh Allen took that progression, but Josh Allen, they lost the game. He throws a pick at the end of the at the very end in OT against the Vikings, and what was a crazy game, and the fumble Rooski there, like with the bad snap. And the Minnesota call on the radio was, those guys are so intense. They were screaming, and I'm just like, I could never in a million years imagine Bill Hillgrove being at this guy's level. Maybe Myron Cope, who went into the Hall of Honor deal yesterday. Good to see Heath Miller there too, and the Heath chance. But I got a couple more. Kenny Pickett has really struggled today thus far. Inaccurate, skittish in the pocket. A rookie is absolutely not immune to criticism. Hi. Despite this being an obvious learning environment given the situation, like, I don't even know what that says. That goes round circle. You already know who tweeted that one out.
Do you see what I mean, though? It's like, it's almost like people aren't even arguing about Kenny Pickett anymore at this point. It's like everybody is so tit for tat and so snarky and so like, oh, this is what all of you wanted, or like, oh, I wish somebody would have seen this coming. It's like, can we all like grow up here and just like watch the Steelers play football and watch Kenny Pickett develop? I told my friend last week after he was feeling a little down in the dumps about Kenny Pickett, I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, if Kenny Pickett was this bad, if he was not anywhere near worth riding with and developing and seeing what he can be, we would know. We would know, man. It wouldn't be such a hot topic. It wouldn't be such a argumentative and polarizing subject of discussion amongst the fan base. If he was that bad, we all would know. Fact of the matter is, he's showing enough and has shown enough to encourage you that you should want to ride it out and see him get better. You know, like what is the rush? Why is everyone so like, oh no, like he's so bad still, like when he's really not. He's really not. We won 20-10 yesterday, got better throughout the game. I just feel like I'm talking in circles at this point.
But wait, there's more. It's the old Billy Myers infomercials. I'm starting to become a bit alarmed about Kenny Pickett. I know he's in a bad situation with the OC, but he was legitimately awful in that first half. Canada actually called good plays, but Pickett's pocket awareness is bad. And these were all around 2:30ish in the afternoon.
I can acknowledge it's gotten worse since he's been in there, because I think just the overall lack of success from the whole offense, you know, the lack of confidence in the play calling, the lack of success, I think that has affected Kenny's confidence in the pocket and his awareness. But fortunately, again, as we saw, he got better in the second half. The first half was concerning, not enough to have me crying my heart out on Twitter, but it was concerning for sure.
He didn't throw like 3 picks or something. That's the thing that just gets me. Everybody wants him to be like an all-pro. Give him the gold jacket, the Busting Canton, like immediately. It's like, this is like, you're getting them warmed up with some of these throws. They've been on a bye week. The guy had set out, or he went through concussion protocol. He's had some adversity this season already, and he has to come in. He wasn't the guy from the very beginning. I got one more. Kenny Pickett looks worse every week. Situation around him is very bad, but he's been worse and worse at managing the pocket and making timely decisions with the ball. That's a big part of what made him effective early on. And I think part of this, and the reason the Steelers didn't make a change with Matt Canada, and I've given us some I wouldn't say deep thoughts, but it's one of those things where you're in the shower and you're kind of like thinking about all the random things you're going to do with your day. And all of a sudden, this subconscious thing comes to you. And for me, it was this offense. The calls and some of the things looked a little different yesterday. I wouldn't say it was crazy different, but like we talked about, with Claypool being gone, more tight end usage, more Connor Hayward, which is a good thing, more Derek Watt, which we saw. How about the fourth down plays? Like, they have no reluctance to go for it on 4th and 1, or use Kenny in a quarterback sneak in any short yardage situations where Ben would never get under center whatsoever. Kenny is just like amazing at this. He's like Tom Brady-esque. Like Tom Brady, it was like, if you knew it was like even 4th and 2, dude's going to lay out and get it when he was with the Patriots. He just had a way of pushing the pile, right? So coming back
I've
around
already
to
started to take it for granted. It's already
yeah,
become like
absolutely.
easy enough where I'm like, all right, cool, quarterback sneak it, we'll get it. Like it's happening at a pretty high rate.
But I'm thinking the offense, the way it has been run up till the bye week, everything was more or less designed for Mitch Trubisky. And Mitch Trubisky was the guy since the mini camps and the offseason training and the OTAs and whatnot. And everything was tailored to his athleticism and maybe what he might excel at, which is like really short passes, et cetera, et
Absolutely.
cetera. So now you throw Kenny out there, but this offense hasn't had yet to be tailored specifically for Kenny Pickett to where now I think they're starting to fine tune a couple of things. I'm just seeing it just a little bit differently. You might not be able to see these things unless you're watching coaching film or you're there in the stadium, but that's the way I feel. And that's going to also put a little bit of a snag in. Maybe it might help or it might hurt Kenny as well because it's change. Change is change, right? But you can't ignore offensive line at some point. I'm out on Kevin Dotson. We know Dan Moore gets beat like a drum sometimes. I still think Dotson's the weakest guy by far. There was I was joking. I think it was one of the short yardage situations where Kenny leaned in. I don't know if it was a 4th and 1 or not, but I said, just go left guard. There's always a gap there. So because it's Dotson's side. So it's like, just go there. You know it's going to be open for the taking. But
I didn't notice a lot about the line play. I know Kenny was under duress for a good part of it. I think a couple of the sacks he took were on him, and I think a couple of the other ones
oh,
were
absolutely.
unavoidable. So and the running game wasn't too bad. So I didn't really notice like too many bad things about the offensive line play. But I'll take your word for it on
Yeah,
Kevin Dotson not having a good game really.
I think he had time to pass and he was holding the ball a little bit, maybe seeing ghosts or whatever early on. And it's like one
Yeah.
of those things coming out of a bye. Do you have rust as a rookie? I don't know that you could have rust. You're not quite there all the way yet to begin with. So, you're managing some different things there. I got also he got hit at one point, or he had somebody laying on him, and it looked like he may have hurt his ankle. And there was a pass on
Definitely hurt his ankle for
Yeah.
sure. They were talking about that on TV a lot.
Okay. Obviously, I was there and didn't get to hear that part of it, but it looked like that affected. There was like one throw when you're talking about wildly inaccurate that just went sailing, and it was like, who the hell was that too? And
Oh, was that behind the line? That one?
yeah, I think so. Might have been Steve
Yeah,
Sims. He was nearest in the area, maybe if I recall.
Yeah, that was like right after he heard it. Yeah, man, he went to the blue tent and everything. So like Mitch was warming up at one point, but then they just heavily wrapped his ankle, and he played better after he got hurt. It kind of like the Joe Burrow thing, like, oh, I play better after I get hit once or twice. It gets me woken up and gets that competitive edge sparked.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't want to beat the dead horse on Kenny anymore, but yeah, maybe a little bit more, maybe quicker decisions, and I think that came as the game went on. That finally they connect on a big play, finally with Deontay Johnson. You're almost expecting him to not catch the ball just based on who was involved and it being a big play. It's like none of this stuff is ever going the Steelers' way. You had might as well jump over to Matt Wright while I'm thinking about it right now. He's got to stay on the roster for 3 weeks. He's got to play. He's got to be active on the 53 for 3 games, so they can't just cut bait with him just yet.
Oh, is that so? That's because they got him from a
The
practice squad.
Yeah.
Okay, my dad was asking me about that we're like stuck with him for like 4 weeks, and I was like, I didn't hear that. I know that Boz is stuck on IR for a certain duration of time, but I didn't know that we were stuck with Matt Wright for a certain duration of time. So that's very interesting because I definitely, if I knew that, I forgot that that's a rule about taking a guy from a practice squad is you're stuck with him for that long. I knew you had to sign him to the active roster immediately, but I didn't
Yeah.
know that you were stuck with him.
Yeah, it doesn't come into question very often because how many guys are you signing from practice squads that you're putting right out there to be a starter? In the case of
Yeah.
specialists, that's going to happen. So here's how the Steelers get around that if they feel Matt Wright isn't right for this team. And I felt very disappointed in his play. It was windy. It was pretty vicious, especially in the open end. On the open end, I'm trying to think yesterday, the wind would have been to his back, but then again, that means it's swirling around down there. And then on the other side, he would have been kicking into the wind. So on the one, I don't know if the wind just took that ball or what, but it just shows you how much of a weapon or how valued Chris Boswell is to this team. They left some points. Obviously, maybe should have had a touchdown or 2 in those situations instead of settling for a field goal or not field goal. But if they feel they need to do something and not have Matt Wright, he's going to be on the active roster, but it doesn't mean he has to be active on game day. So they could still sign someone to their practice squad, like how they had Nick Skiba, and then elevate them on game day and have them do the kicking. So yeah, so well, you hear all the talking heads everywhere mention that, well, the Steelers wouldn't carry 2 kickers on their active roster. Yeah, that's absolutely true, but it doesn't mean they have to. They don't have to sacrifice someone else just to keep this kicker for X amount of time. The only problem is they're not going to be able to just snag somebody like they did right from another practice squad. It's going to have to be a straight up street free agent from somewhere. I'd be shocked if they don't at least host someone in the coming days to come in and see what else they have. I'm sure that the weather being a little bit of a factor, but it's not going to get any better as we go on. We're in November. We're getting into cold weather. You got the Cincinnati Bengals coming to town, and it couldn't be any better time to get TJ Watt back on the field, because there's definitely a TJ Watt factor. And then I saw a meme floating around, Zach, where it had the old Thanos Infinity War deal. Like, what did you sacrifice? He's talking to Gamora, his daughter. It's like, and he says like everything. That's like, you got TJ Watt back. What did you sacrifice? It says Minka Fitzpatrick. And I'm just like, man, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, and on Saturday, it's like right before the game. I don't think KZ, I don't know. He's at least a veteran, and some people are acting surprised that he played as much as he did. And
Let's not listen to this show.
yeah, well, you got to. We were spot on with that one, man. Like we
He
said,
was going to play a lot regardless, and then Minka not playing just like sealed the deal that he was going to be the starter for the day. And I mean, Casey might be the best backup for Minka we've ever had. I mean, pretty sure he is. It's not really hard to zero in on that. I know Trey Norwood had a good rookie season, and he plays well in his limited role now in his sophomore season with the Steelers. But Casey he's got that natural feel. He has very good range for a safety, incredible ball skills, has led the NFL in interceptions before, and has a knack and a nose for the ball. Aside from the interception, he was close to another towards the end of the game when I think it was Levi Wallace who knocked the pass away. So he almost had a second interception there. I'm not even talking about Levi's interception. It was a totally different play. But yeah, Casey almost had 2 picks.
yeah,
He had that penalty on Chris Olave where he knocked him out, like snap, like bang, bang right there, close to the goal line. Granted, it was a penalty, but Casey's skill, it pops out on tape. He's a difference maker in the secondary. So to have him to fill in for Minka in the meantime, and then eventually play in addition to Minka and Terrell Edmonds, I think that will continue to pay big dividends for the Steelers.
oh yeah, absolutely, man. And we talk about the TJ Watt factor too.
No, it's laughable how
Yeah.
different the defense is with TJ Watt. You saw it immediately. I mean, Highsmith coincidentally had a great game with TJ back. I know Highsmith's been holding it down and doing a fairly decent job without TJ. But with TJ, when you have a guy of Highsmith's skill, which I would say right now is about a B plus, he isn't a world beater. He isn't a great outside linebacker or edge rusher yet, but he's pretty good. On his way to maybe being an A. But with TJ, when you're a B plus with TJ, you get matchups that make you look like an A. And Highsmith had a great game yesterday. But the spin move was perfect. Looked like Dwight Freeney at Syracuse, and had the strip sack too, which I always love when a guy does that. Instead of sacking the quarterback, he just like grabs the ball because it counts just the same.
Oh my goodness, TJ almost had one too. Andy Dalton tried to scramble, and that ball was like inches from being swatted, because I saw TJ bringing the hammer.
You can tell they coach that here. Like our
Yeah.
edge rushers, we mentioned this last show with Bud Dupree. They have a knack for doing that, and not every team, watch every team, not every team's edge rushers do that, where they're like always doing the tomahawk chop. It's how they tackle almost here.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny because Highsmith's the only one who had sacks in the game, and he had 2 of them. And he got to the quarterback, credited for 1 quarterback hit, a tackle for loss. TJ Watt only had the 1 QB hit, but they were loading it up on TJ. They weren't going to just let him roam free. He was getting double teamed, and
Hit
You
a couple
start
of
to
run
see-
stuffs.
yeah, you get to see Cam Hayward start to come a little more free. But surprisingly, like Miles Jack did suit up. He was on the sideline, And I don't believe he came in whatsoever. I don't have him on the list here. I was
I didn't
looking at
notice him once.
Robert Spillane. This is going to blow your freaking mind. Played all 47 defensive snaps in this game. All of them. Just like Terrell Edmonds, which you're used to. Terrell Edmonds, you're used to your secondary being out there. KZ. They asked TJ. TJ said his legs felt like noodles after the game. I don't think anyone got to ask KZ that, but I'm sure he had to feel the same way after not playing for some time. Levi Wallace got to be somewhat in that situation too, because he wasn't a full-time starter and he was out for a little bit. But yeah, Spillane, Edmonds, Wallace, Cam Sutton, and KZ. And man, Sutton is still like a dude too. Some big plays, but Wallace really, really stood out. He did well yesterday. KZ gets the splash plays and gets a little bit of the extra recognition. You should have seen when he scored. Did they happen to show this on TV by any chance? Or not when he scored, but when he went down to the end zone for the team celebration, he threw the ball almost into the 200 section.
I saw him throw it, but I didn't know how far it went.
Yeah, it went all the way up to like where the play clock is in the closed end. I was like, holy crap, maybe don't let anybody see that that's an anti-Kenny Pickett person. You know what I mean? That's really crazy, but
I like his fire, man. I can feel it like radiating off of my television set. You know, he's been a guy who's had a lot of success in this league, KZ, and been hurt a lot in this league. I think he missed a whole season after he led the NFL in picks, and then had to miss the first half of this season here with the Steelers. So you can tell that he plays with a lot of emotion, and he truly loves the game of football. And I'm always happy to have those dudes on the Steelers. They play with a lot of energy, and they help elevate players around them.
Well, just discussing this too, not just the TJ Watt. Obviously, TJ Watt, he pushed the pocket. He forced Andy Dalton to make some quicker throws or decisions than maybe he would have liked to that weren't there, and that's why the secondary really getting torched. Now, if you get Minkah back, I don't know, Minkah, that's funny, appendicitis, appendectomy. This is the same thing with Joe Burrow from the offseason, and then Steelers-Bengals, week 1, that was the storyline. They're going to face each other again. It's going to be the storyline. Will Minkah have that quick of a turnaround? Unlikely, with some of the people that I spoke to and some of the opinions that I've been reading around the interwebs. But as soon as you get him back out there, it's going to be crazy, because hopefully you get Okeechobee completely healthy. Marvin Leal, don't forget, just had whatever minor ding and dent that he had. He should be coming up off of the IR, maybe back to practice soon as well.
Yeah, he should.
And he was playing well for even better than like expectations as a rookie. You get some of these pieces back in there. Miles Jack over Spillane. And like I said, Spillane got picked on really bad at the end of that half. You know, that's not the guy you want covering out there. But he's mostly been out there. They played a lot, not a lot of single, like with the single inside linebacker and the sub packages. They've been splitting the field between him and Devin Bush, but it's almost like Spillane's almost always the coverage guy for some reason and not Bush. Bush is always kind of like, Bush is kind of guarding, like watching the running back or spying like a quarterback or playing like a short zone or something like that.
He must just be like a really good communicator or like really intelligent with his calls. I'm talking about Spillane because he gets victimized in coverage, and he does a couple things well. I don't want to be so on the fence with like every single Steelers player. I do think Spillane's like a pretty bad football player, but he does a few things well, and his intelligence on the field and his communication must be what the Steelers value a lot, because he is out there an absurd amount of the time, even when Jack and Bush are both healthy. So
well, I wanted to give him some kudos. When, speaking of which, did we even notice that Alvin Kamara was playing yesterday? Jarvis Landry did. He ended up playing. He had a snag or two that were much like his old self. He caught 3 balls for 37 yards, actually. I didn't even think it was that much.
Kamara wasn't really a factor. I think maybe that's like a trickle-down effect. If he had a quarterback that like knew how to like utilize him in the pass game a little better, maybe he would have victimized us more. But I was pleasantly surprised at how little Kamara was a focal point yesterday for the Saints. Like, we're joking, but I did like at times forget that he was even playing. It was like, oh yeah, there's Kamara with the ball in his hands. He hasn't done shit today, so let's see what he does now. And I think his best play was like a 9-yard gain.
Yeah, it wasn't the sharpest day for him. In fact, that the whole team only averaged 1.9 yards on the ground. 15 carries total for 29, 8 of those for 26 by Kamara. Taysom Hill, 3 attempts for 1 yard. I mean, he just got totally like
That's very
besmirched.
encouraging to see from our
Yeah.
rush defense.
Yeah, yeah. So, and Spillane with the stop on 4th down. Now, I thought Kamara actually got there on 3rd, and it was kind of they sat him up, stood him up right like at the line of gain. And
Wasn't that the woman ref? She gave us a good spot.
was that like we're looking at it in the stands, and I'm like, how's that wasn't a first down? It's like they flip it to 4th and 1 on the scoreboard and whatnot. And then all of a sudden it's like they hurry up to go for it. And for whatever reason, you're trying, Andy Dalton is not Kenny Pickett. I do not care what these pre-draft comps were. Kenny Pickett is not Andy Dalton already. All right. And Andy Dalton, like, I don't know. Spillane just came in there and cleaned it up and threw him to the ground, and it was like a rag doll. And it was just one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. Some other additional kudos, maybe. I don't know. Do we have anybody else on defense? Because I kind of forgot to throw George Pickens' name in here. And he's obviously getting covered quite a bit. I know he only had the 2 catches for 23 yards, but big plays.
He missed him on the first throw, too. He should have had at least 3 for maybe like 40.
Yeah, well, Deontay Johnson also got grabbed on one. Looked like a quick slant to the inside from the numbers. And that was,
my God, I know.
That was
it would have been a house call.
Yeah.
Would have been a house call.
Yeah, Antonio Brown-esque right there. But Pickens had the one run touchdown. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 for 23 on the ground. I got that wrong. He was 3 for 32 receiving. So I had that backwards. But 2 for 23 on the ground with the touchdown. And I think it was creative enough. You got like a little counter play with like Derek Watt, and you had the sneaks, you had the wide receivers stretching the field a little bit, and it seemed like the offensive line, as much as I was already crapping on them earlier, at times they're going to get beat, and they're going to get beat by certain players or other professionals. The other team gets paid to play in the National Football League as well. I don't like seeing 6 sacks given up. You can't do that with the Bengals. But you got the Bengals coming up, and they're licking their wounds a little bit in certain areas as well. So
at least 2 or 3 of those were on Kenny. I already admitted that.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
was holding the ball a little long at times. I think he really doesn't want to make mistakes. But they weren't all on Kenny. So yeah, I want to see a little bit better from the line. But very encouraged by our run game. That the line did a good job there for both Najee and Jaylen Warren and Kenny. Season high rush yards, season high literal runs. Like we had what the guy on TV, you weren't watching on TV, but we had like they said the Steelers had 3 or 4 of their longest runs all season yesterday with Najee's, Kenny's, and then the other Najee run or Jaylen Warren. So yeah, they had 3 or 4 of the longest runs all season yesterday, which is great. That's improvement. That's what you want to see. If this team's going to continue to win games, they have to have some kind of success running the ball, including with Kenny's legs.
Yeah, I was trying to actually find it. I think it was Michael Birch who does some of the Steelers statistics, and of course, I'm never gonna end up finding it when I need to look for it. But there was something like just really crazy. There were 4 guys with runs of over, I think, 20 yards in this game, and I want to find it just to be certain of what I was.
Yeah, you got Kenny, Najee, Jaylen Warren. That's 3.
Yeah, Kenny Warren. Hold on a second, because I think even Pickens may have had one.
He would have to be the last one, I can imagine.
Yeah. I'm trying to see. Let's see, 4 players. Here we go. Not just a hat rack here. Doing this on the fly sometimes. Bang, there it is. Michael Birch at Steelers PR Mike. Great follow, by the way, if you're not already following him. 4 players: Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, George Pickens, and Kenny Pickett registered 20-plus yard runs. The last time an NFL team had 4 players register 20-plus run yards in a game was the Carolina Panthers, December 24th, 2011. There was also some statistic that came out of the game Sunday night when I was listening on the radio. It was like there's 7 families or family units or members that have had 100+ sacks in the NFL, because the Bosa brothers now are in that category, and of course the Watts are, but they weren't the first ones. It was like Clay Matthews and his old man and several others. That was a pretty interesting one too to look up if you're interested in that. So I thought that was pretty neat as well. And I gotta see, I think Michael Birch also had one about the run defense for the Steelers. And he did. The Steelers defense held the Saints only 29 rushing yards, which is the fewest allowed since week 6 of the 2017 season. That was 28 yards against the Kansas City Chiefs. Though, of course, that was pre-Patrick Mahomes era Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, this is the defense I think we were all expecting to see. I think it still has room for improvement. I think everything still has room for improvement, but this is definitely a good building block for this football team. Learn and grow. It's good for your young quarterback. It's good. It's good to see Najee Harris getting the game that he had. That's a confidence builder for him. I think it's a really good 1-2 punch. That I think it's a sigh of relief if you're Najee Harris. Not only did you have that game, dude, but you got Jaylen Warren who could come in, and it's not all on your shoulders now. And Jaylen Warren making some plays in the pass game too. Did you see that? The hurdle? He's doing some Najee stuff. And I think that when these guys watch each other too, I think there's something to be said about that. Najee's in every single play, right? Last year. Plays every single snap on offense, 3 down back, blah, blah, blah. But when he gets to go on the sideline and he sees Jaylen do something, he sees something that he too can exploit when he comes back in fresh, and you grow and you vibe off of that. And that was kind of the concept of originally having Kenny or a young rookie quarterback sit from the sidelines and learn and watch and learn how to become a pro. And Najee never really had that opportunity. He was a workhorse and a half last year. So I think that those two could definitely feed off of each other. And of course, if Mike Tomlin, there's a lot of people talking about whether Mike Tomlin can do running back by committee. And it's forcing his hand now. I know Mike Tomlin has not been running back by committee. He was in the early Mike Tomlin years when you had Willie Parker and you had Mewelde Moore. He was forced to at one time when they didn't have a running back. I think the one year was like Mendenhall, and Mendenhall was banged up or hurt, and they had Ike Redmond, another camp phenom, and Baron Batch or Veron Haynes or somebody like that. That's I don't even know if Haynes was in that same group or
You're
not.
right, with Isaac Redmond for sure was in there.
Yeah, so I think Tomlin may consider it now, and Najee not catching that one ball for a touchdown just makes me further appreciate what Le'Veon Bell was able to do when he was with the Steelers. But they would never put like D'Angelo Williams in there. You never knew who the other running back was until Bell got hurt. And maybe this is a learning thing. Maybe even Mike Tomlin, 16 seasons or whatever in the NFL, is it's kind of making him change his tune a little bit, teach the old dog some new tricks. Maybe we need to get this guy more involved. And I like what they were doing. Like we were saying, we saw a lot of stuff with the with multiple tight ends or a fullback or Connor Hayward. Connor Hayward's a weapon too. If you get him into some space, he's like a little Mighty Mouse. So,
I liked how that guy that he shook on his last catch of the game and almost got a first down. That's the guy who lit him up early in the game. So Connor Hayward got to get the last laugh in there with his little shimmy shake for a first down, because I'm sure the guy who lit him up the first time was expecting him to just stand there again, because Connor Hayward's got like very deceptive wiggle. He's a chunky dude. I'll just say it. He isn't like the most in shape looking player, but like he's got wiggle for his size. He's like a fire hydrant.
I like that. I said bowling ball, but fire hydrant's pretty good too. A little bit taller than wider, right? Not completely.
He's very soft hands and he's very smooth. So I don't want to come off like I'm totally making fun of Connor Hayward. I'm glad he's on the team, and Kenny clearly is comfortable with him. But yeah, he's got deceptive athleticism. Absolutely. I think if he continues to grow, he could be like this is a throwback for people, but at a point when the 49ers were really starting to get good again under Jim Harbaugh and Colin Kaepernick and Patrick Willis, that whole age of the Niners, they had Vernon Davis, who was all world at tight end and was like the Travis Kelce of that era. And they also had a young Delaney Walker on the team at the same time.
I remember.
And Delaney Walker became like an understudy to an X factor to eventually a free agent tight end that left the Niners and broke the bank with the Tennessee Titans, because he just became such a good weapon in the Niners offense. And I see a little bit of young Delaney Walker in Connor Hayward when I watch him.
Yeah, here's a fun fact. I don't know if you know this about Vernon Davis, though. He's, you know about him with being a big curling fan?
Yeah.
The sport of curling. Yeah. And he was the honorary captain of the men's U.S. Olympic curling team in the 2010 Winter Olympics. Like, that's just wild. Like, he's
a freak. He can do everything.
Yeah.
Vernon Davis. He can act. He can 4-3.
Well, you still got James Harrison like pulling the space shuttle or whatever around too out there. He's pushing some massive weight on Instagram or something just a week or two ago, and makes you think the guy like he'd still be terrorizing people. You just stare at him. You know what I mean? Just bring
He
him
could
back
probably
out.
give you 5 good snaps a game. Just rush the
Yeah.
passer.
Yeah, but this is good too because Malik Reed now you could actually use him in an actual real rotation, which helps Highsmith and Watt. Watt really didn't have like much of a pitch count, so to speak. He played 37 of the 47 defensive snaps, about 79%. There was one series where he wasn't out there immediately, or maybe just came back out after they had gotten a first down. They tried to see, there's a lot of things like that. Let's see if we keep you out a whole series. Then through the offense, force a 3 and out, team punts, and then you're not coming back. The offense, if they carry and hold the ball for a little bit, you might get like a 10-minute real-time break or something like that, which for somebody coming off of injury is much, much probably needed and appreciated. But I know TJ, man, he was fired up, rightfully so. They announced defense first in the stadium. The whole place just popped off. Got to give some kudos too to we made sure we got Spillane, even though we were all over him. But Mike Tomlin has now defeated 31 of the 32 NFL teams during his coaching career. The only team that he has not beat, obviously, the team that he's been coaching over the last 16 seasons, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So,
Yeah, I mean, people are like, who's the last team?
yeah, what's wrong? Too much icy light, folks. Lay off of the booze. And it's like, I don't even know like how somebody. I watch some of these tailgates. How do you get drunk on Iron City? Like it takes a lot. It takes a lot of work. I don't know what kind of bladders some of you's got out there, and if you got any kidneys left or liver.
Oh, that's the worst. That's a rookie move when you drink too much before you go sit down, and you got to get up like 10 minutes later. Bladder control is a very real thing you got to plan for and account for when you're going to a Steeler game.
You know what's hilarious about that is Miles, who always sits next to me, him and his dad. Oh, his dad got on him too because he had like a golf trip the last home game where they won with Tampa Bay. And so when I finally saw Miles for this game, we're talking about a month later, I'm like, hey, nice of you to show up, And his dad goes, fair weather fan. He's pointing at him and they're like, oh man, you guys are wrong. I had this plan for like a year. I couldn't back out of it, nice country club trip and stuff like that. But yeah, we often discuss that same thing with like the bathroom breaks and stuff. So he'll always catch me up or I'll catch him up on plays. Like if one of us has to leave, but you're sitting in about 10 seats into a row. I don't like to disturb and get everybody else to stand up. And then I'm a big person. Like, it takes a lot. I got to get moving and people trying to get around me. I feel like I'm going to throw them.
After when they see you coming back up the steps, like, oh, here comes this guy. Now I got to move again.
Yeah. That's the way it is, man. I swear. But no, I'll wait. The NFL, that was the only thing I hated with Goodell. He changed the whole like timing thing with the extra points and kickoffs and that. They used to be the opportune bathroom break. Now you got to like sprint. So yeah. I was able to squeak out, like I said, man, a little bit too much tailgating yesterday. Usually I'm like a halftime guy, but I needed to get out early because of the Hall of Honor inductees at halftime. And I'm like, okay, I snuck out somewhere around the beginning of the second quarter. There was an injury timeout or something like that. But you got to plan it. There's the Run P app. If you do the same thing with movies, if you're out there going and seeing any of the stuff, any of the flicks in the movie theater, the app will tell you when you could go when it's like a dead point.
I've heard of that website. Yeah. When you can go pee. That's hilarious.
Yeah. You could start the app. I've only tried it once. You could start it like as the movie starts in and it's like in sync. So and it'll like, I guess, notify or buzz you like when there's like
it turns yellow.
Yeah. I don't know if it does, but turning yellow is probably better than another color. You don't want it to turn red. So, and we're
brown.
We're completely off the rails, but I think that covers just about everything. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this. If they could stack some wins, 2 home wins in a row, and then you get Indianapolis and Atlanta after that, and Indianapolis is its own little monster. How bad are you if you're how do you feel if you're a Raiders fan, for example, this morning? They just had Jeff Saturday, who's never coached any level of football, come into your house. Matt Ryan run for 39 yards on a play, on a scramble that was like I don't even know if it was a third down play, but it was critical and crucial. He ended up scoring, and that was the game winner there. And like I said,
I had Colts money line.
Oh, there you go. Of course you did.
I thought they were gonna I thought they were going to get killed, honestly. I believe the people that were like, if they can even show up on Sunday on time, that'll be amazing. But I was like, I don't want to root against Magic. I don't want to be out of the moment. If they do this and they can win the Colts, I don't want to be sitting there with my arms crossed. I want to be sitting there jumping up and down, being like, let's go any given Saturday, you know?
Any given
That's what
Saturday.
happened.
That's pretty good. I'm always following your tweets too for in college football. You're picking
Thanks.
out like, Midwestern State Tech to win, they're getting 3. So you're all over it. And I'm just like,
I'm a plus sign hunter, dude. I love the underdogs, dude. It's how you bet a lot, or you bet a little to win a lot. Can't beat that.
that's awesome. Well, we'll see if you're back around later in the week. Check in on Brian and see what's going on with him. And once again, condolences out to the Roach family. If you hadn't heard, Brian's dad had passed away. So we had mentioned that on the last program. So we'll see what's going on. I hate flying solo when I do, and I know I get long-winded sometimes here, but geez, I need a break. I need to come up for air. I need to get some water and stuff. So hopefully my comrade in arms, he'll be back at some point during the season here, and maybe it'll be yourself again too, Zach. So thanks for joining us, and
Possibly you.
investors, possibly you.
Are we at home next game?
Yeah. Bengals at home. Got flexed, so it's not a Sunday night
That's
game
right.
now. Not a Sunday
Okay, cool.
nighter.
That's fine, dude. As long as the pigeons are there, we'll be okay.
What is the obsession with that? I know they put out the grass seed. It's like, okay, it's grass seed. Bird, it attracts the bird. So 2-0 with the pigeons.
Yeah,
2-0 with the pigeons. I'm kind of curious if the Steelers are going to bust out the color rush jerseys.
Ooh.
No
Yeah, we
announcement,
have to get
but
this year.
yeah, they haven't worn them, and I know they're going to wear something for the primetime game with the Raiders with the Franco Harris patch and everything to
Yeah.
commemorate the Immaculate Reception. I believe they're going to wear the block numbers.
Yeah, they'll probably go blocks for those.
But I'm thinking color rush. It's got to be a divisional game coming up. They're not going to wait till the end of the year to play the Cleveland Browns and then bring that out. When it might not even matter. It's got to be against the Bengals or Ravens coming up on one of these 2 home games, I would believe. So
Yeah.
stay tuned. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Let me see. Bengals, Ravens, Browns, and then the Raiders. So those are the home games that are left. They only had 3 in the first part of this. So they not only played the toughest schedule in the NFL, they did most of it on the road. 5 games on the road. So you got to play in Philly, got to play in Buffalo. It's a whole different animal now. They finally get 2 back-to-back at home, which is going to be nice after a bye too. And I know Cincy's coming off of a bye week themselves, but they've already beat this team. So when you know that, you've got some belief in your mind that, okay, we just won and we just did all of these things well, and we've beaten this other team, so we can do this again. And I know the Bengals are going to be out like a shark with blood. They want some revenge too, and they certainly need to do something as well with their team, because if they end up dropping this game this upcoming week to the Steelers, they will fall to 5-5, but they will have lost 4 games in the AFC North. So there's no path for them to hold a tiebreaker over anyone. Unfortunately, right now, if the NFL season were to end today, the Steelers would be in a world of hurt too. Obviously, they're 3-6. They wouldn't necessarily be playoff eligible. But did you happen to see the brackets? The entire AFC East, yes, AFC East, not the AFC West, would make the postseason. All 4
AFC
teams.
Beast.
Yeah, the AFC Beast. It's wild though, because Buffalo has fallen to 3rd place behind the Jets in their own division. Miami's out in front with a 7-3 record. The Jets and Bills are 6-3 apiece, and New England is 5-4. But the Steelers have lost to all those teams, so they wouldn't have any other tiebreaker other than an overall record. The only good news is those teams largely still have to play one another. The most that they've played, Miami and the Jets have played 3 games within the division so far. Everybody else has played 2, so they'll cannibalize each other. But Zach, that'll do it for us, man. We're up against it. Thanks for joining us once again. Victory Monday tastes sweet, man.
Oh yeah, tastes so sweet. No problem. Always happy to be here, especially after a win. We would have freaking beat the Jets and the Patriots too if they just would have started Kenny sooner. But that's an argument for a different day.
Or if Ben was still here, which is kind of funny because all the people that are that say like Kenny sucks are the same people that were saying Ben's too old and over the hill and got to get rid of Ben. It's the same exact people. That's like nothing will ever make them happy. So, and hats off to Heath Miller and congrats with the Hall of Honor. And my guy, Myron Cope. Double yoy. I got always got the terrible towels up. Yeah. Myron Cope and a few others that were very well deserving of the honor as well. So it was really cool to hear Heath, and also a little bit of I never thought if they would consider Myron Cope contributor class, kind of like employee, whatever. So it's cool to see that, because, Bill Hillgrove eventually will get that honor whenever he decides to walk away from being the play-by-play guy. But yeah, I didn't get to see the new museum. It was too crazy. So I'm going to have to wait for that to die down, or see if that thing's ever open during the off season, or they do some tours otherwise, or whatever. It's there now. So we'll see what that
sounds like a preseason activity.
Yeah. Perfect. You're absolutely right. Preseason activity when there's only 40,000 in the building. 66,500. Hold on. I got it. I was surprised. I was wondering if enough people were going to make it out to the game. Let's see. Start time, temperature, attendance. 66,544. That's a pretty good one. Following, 2-win team after a bye week, cold weather. So Steelers Nation, continue to come out, support the team. Everyone else that's here in our 2%ers, welcome back. Get back on the train here. We're headed to the postseason. Still a long way to go, but still a lot of football left. My name's Joe. His name's Zach. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.